Good afternoon, my friends. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can be with you forever. I'm going to be putting my email in the description, as you all know. So if you want to hit me up and contact me for any inquiries or tarot readings or whatever, reach me out there. So I'm going to be talking about a little subject that's been on my mind lately, especially as we're in the middle of all this quarantining, self-isolation stuff. And I want to touch upon this subject because I think that, it's obviously very relevant, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people who have talked about this numerous times. But I want to emphasize the idea of fake news, fake information, disinformation, propaganda, all of that's been circulating around everywhere. No matter where you are, it's pretty much littered. As long as everyone's been in quarantine and self-isolating themselves, there's no real way to gather real information unless you're living within, whatever people are talking about. So this is generally people like doctors and nurses who are in the ER working with COVID-19 patients, and they're actually experiencing that firsthand. Unless you're one of those people, you probably don't know shit about what's going on in terms of the coronavirus and how it's affecting people, and things of that nature. Basically, you're internalizing the information based off of what other people are telling you. And I don't want to keep this on the subject of the whole COVID-19 thing, because I think that there are more applications towards this that's been circulating around the past many years, so to speak. And the thing about the fake news thing that's been popularized mostly by Donald Trump, who is attacking CNN, obviously, but it's been appropriated to signify just the news in general that's been propagating false information, fake news. It's all fake news. And I'm here to say that pretty much all your information and all the data and all the facts that you ingest on a daily basis from other people specifically, it's all fake news at the end of the day, right? And when I mean that is not necessarily fake news, but it's propaganda. I think propaganda is more of a term that would be appropriately used in this context, because propaganda is not false. It's not a lie, so to speak. It's a twisting and a distortion of the truth, right? It's a game of broken telephone, basically, if you've ever played that game, where you have someone come up with a phrase and they whisper it in one person's ear, and then they have to whisper it in the next, and there's a chain of events of people, and then by the end, the story's completely changed, right? This is how life and information has been spreading around, especially on the internet, for quite some time. And it's a problem that we need to sort of unplug ourselves from. And there's a lot of this misinformation that keeps getting recycled and recycled. And this is mainly one from mainstream news that are propagating this disinformation for a specific agenda that they want to entice a reaction from people in order to get viewers, so to speak. Usually that's done through fear mongering. Fear is a very easy and powerful emotion to tap into, and it's what's going to get people watching and engaged with your programming. But you see this in conspiracy theories as well. There's a lot of fear mongering that's based around how conspiracy theories are spread. I'll just get into an example, like this whole 5G conspiracy that's been going on, that 5G towers are the things that are causing COVID-19 and causing the symptoms. And, that's a form of fear mongering, And there's been issues with the media and certain news outlets, specifically YouTube, that has been deplatforming people who are discussing these actions, discussing 5G. Anybody who criticizes 5G is basically, their videos are taken down without notice. So this is kind of concerning in a way. In my opinion, the reason why I think this is happening is basically there is this incentive from the communications corporations like AT&T and Verizon and whoever that basically have ties with YouTube because it's all internet based, it's all connected, it's all part of it, and there's probably some direct relation to the FCC as well, who are in charge of those aspects in the world as well. But the reason why I think that there's been this deplatforming of people who are discussing it or who are trying to, I won't say fearmonger people, because I think there are people who are trying to fearmonger people into the dangers of 5G, but I think people who are enticing a very specific concern and this agenda of 5G is evil, they're getting deplatformed because, you look at the UK, there are people, destroying these 5G towers. It costs a lot of money, and they don't want that. They don't want people freaking out and thinking that 5G is going to kill us all, and there's this incentive, just get rid of that information because it's going to spread and people are going to buy into it, and there's going to be the broken telephone thing. Now, I'm not going to say I support 5G in any way. I think it is concerning in regards, but I don't know the full story or the full information that is being told, right? And that's the other thing about disinformation and propaganda, is that even when you're looking at hard data, you're looking at numbers and you're looking at graphs and charts and all this other stuff, there is a tendency that people believe that charts and data and all this strict factual based evidence is sort of a look into, the truth, so to speak, what they're trying to represent. Like, look at the numbers of what's happening, and this is a reflection of what's going on in the reality. And I'll tell you, numbers don't tell you anything, actually. I mean, numbers are good as a sort of window into a perception, into the generalized picture of things. But if you look into, like, for instance, I'm into finance and I invest in stocks, and part of investing in stocks, if you're looking at from a fundamentalist approach, is looking into the accounting statements, looking at their price to earnings ratio, looking at their debt to capital, looking at all these different factors in their accounting statements, looking at their balance sheet, and trying to figure out, is this company profitable? Is this company worth investing into? And the thing with accounting statements is that just because the numbers may say, like, oh yeah, we're making money, we're generating earnings, if you look deeper into the accounting statements, I'm not going to get into specifics because, once again, I'm not an expert and I'm not really that well adept in this kind of line of work. But if you were to talk to an accountant or someone who is very adept at that kind of work, they can read into what accounting statements mean. And that, because even though on the surface level, you can look at a company like Tesla, who might say, this quarter we made profit, right? And we made a profit, which they haven't been doing at all. They look at this quarter, and there's, in the accounting statement, it shows a net positive balance in terms of profit. However, with accounting, you can fudge the numbers and sort of take, different numbers from other aspects. You can take account receivables, and you can just sort of, take things like goodwill from the future. You have anticipated future earnings that you can apply to your present earnings, so to speak. Let's just say that you can use that as an example, and then you can add that to the profit, but then neglect the addition of future losses or future payments or future expenses. So these are kind of accounting tricks you can utilize to provide a surface level presentation that your company is making money. This is purely from an accounting standpoint, but I want to illustrate that because people like to look at factoids and data and information that this is the truth. This is factual. Not necessarily. It is factual, but it's distorted in a way to promote a certain agenda. In this case, in finances, it's to promote an agenda of, look, our company's making money, we're profitable in the long term. But that might not be the case once you actually look deeper and look into how they're manipulating the numbers and how they're manipulating the organization of those numbers to present a different story. So to tie it back to, let's say, COVID-19, I recently saw this article. I reposted it on Twitter, and then I immediately unreposted it because I realized that I was fueling and spreading disinformation, because the information was saying that cigarette people who smoke cigarettes are less likely to be hospitalized and less likely to develop severe symptoms than people who don't smoke. And they were showing data and graphs and numbers of the people who smoked and how they were generally not experiencing those severe symptoms compared to non-smokers. And I bought into that narrative thinking that maybe there's something there about the smoker thing, that maybe smokers do actually have this like ability to fight off the virus somehow, like the smoke is killing the virus or some sort of weird thing like that. And then I started thinking about this and realized that when you talk to regular people who, let's say, file for insurance, health insurance in the United States specifically, if they write down or jot down that they are a smoker, then all their benefits that they could get from health insurance basically go away. They don't get any benefits. And there's a general knowledge that if you're applying for health insurance, even if you smoke, just write down that you don't smoke because you want to be able to hold on to those benefits. So there is that very big discrepancy that I didn't really think about when looking at this data, that there is a large amount of people that smoke but register themselves as non-smokers to experience health insurance benefits. So again, that's one of these things where just because the data is saying a specific thing, the reality and the truth of the information actually changes once you look at it from a different perspective. And that's what I want to really emphasize here, is that all of these facts and information that you are getting are merely other people's opinion. It's other people's perspective of things. People have a perspective of things and they'll utilize data and facts to present that agenda, and then conveniently leave out the other information that may discredit what their agenda is. And this isn't to say that that way of going about information is necessarily wrong, but it's important to recognize as a person who wants to learn and uncover the truth, so to speak, that the truth is only going to come down to your own ability to perceive things from a rational and objective view. And once you realize that everything that you're taking in, even this video that you're watching right now, is my own perspective of how disinformation is spread. And if you're just going to listen to this video and accept it as absolute truth, then you are committing something wrong, which is something that I like to make sure of. And I get actually angry when people follow me blindly and take everything I say to heart and say everything I say is absolute truth, because they're missing the point of what I am trying to present with myself and what I'm trying to help uncover in the world is the idea that perception and truth and information is all relative to the individual receiving it, right? So how you perceive things, how you perceive information is really all that counts. And this all comes down to attachment to ideas and attachment to information. How attached are you to information that you are receiving? There's a lot of people that are glued to their specific news program or their news station. They watch Fox News, or they watch CNN, or they watch Bloomberg, or they watch Alex Jones, or anybody, and they are attached to this idea or this person or this network or this mass media that they're consuming, and they sort of ingest it and believe everything here must be true. And when you start thinking like that, then you have become a slave. You've sacrificed yourself, you've sacrificed your ability to discern information, to analyze information, to think about things on a rational level. And this is the important aspect when talking about fake news, fake information, propaganda, is that everything you receive in the world, any kind of information, any kind of data is distorted somehow, because it's coming to you through a medium from another person, and it's coming through you through your own perspective and your own experiences and how you are going to internalize that. And there needs to be this mindfulness of being aware of that disinformation and being aware of what you are ingesting into yourself and what are you going to hold on to and what are you going to reject. And if you're just holding on to and attaching yourself and digesting all the information that's being presented to you as absolute fact from whatever source you're getting it from, then you're missing the point of what it means to be investigative, what it means to be a rational thinker, what it means to be logically minded, because you are attached to ideas and attached to a way of receiving those ideas. Because information is going to come at you from very different points, and you should be open to all different points of view, so that way you can, ingest it and create your own sort of centralized view of what you believe to be the right path and what you believe to be the truth from your own internal self, not from this otherworldly agenda that's trying to stir you into a place. And obviously there's the argument that what we call ourselves is merely an amalgamation of everything around us, which is true to a degree. But, how we take in that information and how we use that information is really the thing that drives your individuality and how you perceive your opinions on things, right? It's your own perspective, right? If the truth that we are just a recreation of everything around in the world and what the world tells us, then, we would all be very confused because, think about what kind of opinions you're ingesting on a daily basis. Think about things like political views, ideologies, religions. Every religion saying that this religion's right and the other one's wrong. How are you supposed to, if you're ingesting both sides, how are you supposed to internalize both of those mindsets? Well, the reality is that you kind of have to make a choice, or you kind of stay in this gray area of not knowing where to go, or you take both ideas of the ideology and construct your own sort of perspective of things. But you're still ingesting from the outside world, but you are reappropriating it into your own life. So I think that's something to think about when ingesting propaganda, because propaganda is everywhere, is discern it and, take advice from different points of view. For instance, I'm a very spiritual and I'm into esoteric knowledge, and I'm into qi, and I'm into, qigong, and all these kinds of weird aspects that are very much frowned upon by, let's say, the Western society and Western medicine. And because of that, because I want to discern and find the truth and find what I believe to be the truth and what I believe to be the right course of action for myself, is that I always reflect the information I get with a completely opposite view, so as to sort of regress and sort of cut away things that might not make sense or be congruent, because you're going to be learning about certain things, especially with what I'm interested in spirituality and esoteric and energy work, that you kind of want a second opinion from different sources to sort of not necessarily confirm, but to sort of put your ideas and put these perspectives to a test of what's working, what isn't working, what's congruent, what isn't congruent. And, this is a scientific mindset. It's all about reducing the reductionary process of what's working, what isn't working, what's necessary, what isn't necessary. And, and then taking a step back from that even, and then saying, what have I reduced too much? What have I cut out that's too much? What am I missing from this equation that I need to add into? And sometimes you add things and you take away things, and it's all about an experimentation, because there is no way to know the absolute truth, and it's impossible to. And even with this video, if you're watching me, take what I say to heart, and then find ways to disagree with me or agree with me, and try out different things, experiment with what I'm saying with my YouTube channel. You don't have to agree 100%. In fact, if you agree with me 100%, then I kind of don't really respect you whatsoever, regardless of if you support me or buy my albums or give me money. If you're just completely in line and following me, then you're kind of not really getting it, right? So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can be with you forever. And I will see you next time. Peace.